Hello, Spurs fans, and welcome back to Spurs Live. Some breaking news today. Spurs have made a signing. Fabrizio Romano has tweeted just now that Vicario, the Italian shot stopper, has signed to Tottenham. Here we go. Deal is done. 19 million euro fee. The Italian shot stopper will sign on a 5-year deal until 2028, following the fall through of David Raya's move to Tottenham for £40 million. Who is Vicario, and does he fit into the Ange Postecoglou system? Is the first signing of the Postecoglou era, and is it a good one, or has Daniel Levy once again cheaped out and gone for second best, and will it cost the club once again? My initial feeling yesterday was this verbal agreement that we had for Vicario was just to get some leverage on Brentford, but after doing some research on Twitter and looking into his games this season for Empoli, I'm impressed. I'm impressed by the signing, and I think that he could be a real asset to Tottenham next season. But who is he? He signed for Empoli this last season for 8.5 million euros after an impressive loan spell for the newly promoted Italian side. He's 26 years old, 6'4", and as I said before, the price will be 19 million euros for arguably the second best shot stopper in Serie A this season, behind Cameroonian international Andre Onana, who is tipped for a move to either Chelsea or Man United. And Vicario was actually tipped to replace Inter from Onana, which is one of the reasons I feel that Spurs have got this deal over the line very quickly. There was a lot of Italian clubs sniffing around Vicario this season, and it looks like the Raya deal wasn't going to go through due to Brentford sticking to their price point. I think this is a smart bit of business from Spurs. So Brentford remained firm over their 40 million price tag for David Raya, which would have made the Spanish shot stopper one of the most expensive keepers all time, joint fourth place, despite him only having a year left on his contract. Now, we've known Spurs to play hardball in the past, but I think 40 million euros for David Raya was an overpay with a year left on his contract. And I'm not surprised Spurs didn't budge in this negotiation. Now, the Spaniard has come out previously and stated that he wants to leave Brentford for a move to Spurs. Well, not Spurs specifically, but just a move to, a higher level of football. He's come out and said that Brentford are asking for a lot of money. The club that could make clubs not want to buy me, and it could make them look somewhere else. Now, it looks like Raya's worst fears have come true, as Spurs have moved on very quickly and secured themselves a brand new shot stopper to replace Hugo Lloris next season in Vicario. But once again, we ask the question, just who is the Italian shot stopper that has risen to stardom in Serie A this season, and does he fit Ange's new system? So let's do some comparisons to the man who he was up against in this transfer race, David Raya. Now, Vicario conceded 1.3 goals per game last season. He played 32 games for Empoli, the newly promoted side, conceding 41 and 7 clean sheets. Not too bad statistically. He had a save percentage of 71%, only one error leading to goals, a 90% pass accuracy in his own half, 35% long ball accuracy, and an average of 47 touches per 90, ranking very highly amongst Europe in those statistics. Now, Vicario has been lauded for his long shot saves and his shot stopping in general. His reflexes for someone of his size is fantastic. There have been some worries surrounding his ability to claim the ball. He parries a lot and he can parry into dangerous zones, which is something Spurs will have to look at and something maybe to worry about, because are defending out wide with Pedro Porro in a right-back position. We've seen him in a back four this season for Spurs against Newcastle, and we got ripped to shreds. His defending is suspect at the minute, to say the least. Whether that improves or not next season after, some time spent in pre-season adapting to a back four system, whether he'd improve or not. And on the other flank, we've got Destiny Udogie, who's coming in from Udinese after completing the transfer last summer, I believe, or last January. I think it was last January, and going back on loan to the Serie A side for the rest of the season. It's expected, with Ivan Perisic leaving the club and Ryan Sessegnon's future in doubt, that Udogie will be starting in a back four next season at left back. And we don't know what he's like. We don't know how he'll adapt to the Premier League, and we don't know how he'll adapt to playing in a back four. He's so used to playing in his favoured wing back position, which is what Spurs signed him for when we had Conte as a manager and we were playing the back three system. But regardless, Vicario felt like yesterday like an uninspiring option. He felt like the cheap option, I think, and I understand why Spurs fans are worried that that may be the case, but I don't think that is the case in this system. Vicario's defensive actions are a lot lower than David Raya's last season, with 48.4 compared to David Raya's 79.9. However, he shines in his aerial duels. He shines in his exits, which is 95.4 percentile across Europe's top five leagues and European club competitions. So he comes off the line a lot, which is key in this Postecoglou system. As we know, Postecoglou wants to squeeze oppositions in as much as he can. He wants to keep opposition in their own half, playing a really high line, which means the keeper's going to have to be so far up his box, which we've seen David Raya do multiple times for Brentford this season. We know he can do it. We know he's successful at it. The question is Vicario going to be able to do that in the Premier League? We ultimately we don't know yet, but statistically, Vicario can do it. It's possible he's done it before for Empoli. His long pass percentage is lower than Rise, but that's fine. I'm not worried about that, and neither should you be, considering that Ange Postecoglou hates his keepers going long. He only wants his keepers to get the ball moving quickly and short. He wants to distribute to the centre backs, possibly the full backs. He does not want us going long to the wingers, to Kane, which we've seen so many times this season, and we've seen over and over again from Hugo Lloris under pressure going long. That is not going to be acceptable under Ange, so I'm not too worried about those statistics. But his short pass percentage, similar to Rise, prevented goals. Again, slightly lower than Rise. Raya outperformed his post-shot expected goals by 5 this season. I believe Vicario's is 2.7, which is still fantastic. David Raya's played out of his skin this season. He's been arguably the Prem keeper of the season, maybe behind Alisson or arguably Pope. But Vicario's had a very, very good season when it comes to shot stopping. And his distribution numbers, whilst not David Raya's, aren't bad. And if we switch over and we compare him to Hugo Lloris, he's a massive improvement. You can see the numbers on the left-hand side of me here. He's a massive improvement to Hugo Lloris. And don't be wrong, we all love Lloris, but he's aged out of the game. He's not just it's not just that his reflexes and his shot stopping have, massively fallen away, which they have, but the game has passed Hugo Lloris by in terms of distribution. He doesn't fit the Ange Postecoglou system. If we look at his successful defensive actions, Vicario's up by 10 in the 10th percentile. Aerial duels, Vicario is in the 83rd percentile, Lloris 67. It's been a massive problem this season because we have had those fallback issues, like I mentioned earlier this season, and I don't expect that to change too much next season, but I think it's a little more acceptable considering the change of system. But then we look at the distribution numbers. 92nd percentile for Vicario, 21 for Hugo Lloris. He might not be David Raya, but he is a darn sight better than what we have at the minute. And for what we need, which is his short pass percentage, significantly better than Lloris's. And that's pretty much all we need to know about Vicario, is that he can fit into this Ange Postecoglou system. Postecoglou has said multiple times he wants his keepers short, quick. He just wants to get the ball moving. He doesn't want anything outrageous from them. He doesn't need an Edison level passer. He doesn't need an Alisson who can hit someone from 50, 60 yards straight to feet. He doesn't need it. And so I think we shouldn't be worried that Vicario can't do it. And who's to say Vicario's numbers won't improve? Once he's used to the Postecoglou system, we'll see how he is under significant pressure. But he's been okay this season for Empoli under pressure. I'm not too worried about his distribution. And as far as I'm concerned, his shot stopping is far better than Hugo Lloris's as well, statistically. And listen, for 20 million euros, I think this could be a coup, potentially. He fits the system. He's a fantastic shot stopper. He's younger than David Raya. Listen, he doesn't feel the homegrown slot that David Raya does. David Raya, because of his time at Blackburn, is considered a homegrown player. Vicario isn't. But we've seen with Spurs' other transfer links, James Maddison, Harvey Barnes, Mark Gahey, that Spurs are looking to go homegrown in other areas to fix the issue that they've had recently with a lack of homegrown talent. So I wouldn't be too worried about that at this point. I think it's a good move. I think it's a cost-effective move, and I think it's one that could bear fruits next season. There's been a massive problem that we needed to address with Hugo Lloris leaving the club and stating he wants to go back to France. And it's a problem solved early. I'm almost quite glad as well that, people can view it as Spurs don't have the ambition and they didn't want to just pay the money that Brentford wanted for David Raya. But we can also see it as alternatively, you know, Spurs wouldn't be held to ransom. They wouldn't let Brentford take them for mugs. And they've instead gone out, used this new data analysis system, which is similar to Brentford and Brighton's. We've seen it before. And they've found Vicario and they've seen him as a cost effective replacement that can put up similar numbers to Raya and have a similar impact in Postecoglou's system. I think that this could be a great signing. And if it I would have preferred Raya, but if it frees up an extra 20 million to go and spend on James Maddison, who the Athletic have said today that Leicester aren't budging on their price for 60 million, but Spurs are in the front seat, to get James Maddison. If it means that Spurs become more lenient in those negotiations, that's just another benefit. Okay, so to summarize, I think it's a top signing for the price. I think he can play in the Postecoglou system. He fits them well. He's been the second best shot stopper in Italy this season. And there were a number of other clubs interested, including United, including, Inter, Napoli, Brighton themselves were interested at a point in Vicario. I think this is a fantastic signing, and I think it's a good start to the Postecoglou era. But stay with us, Spurs fans. Stay with us. We're going to be updating you on all the news throughout this week, as I'm sure that this isn't the end of Spurs news this week. We had a stream yesterday talking about Tap Sober. So go and watch that yesterday if you haven't already. But yeah, we'll be with you straight away with any updates if there's any changes in the signings. But thank you for joining us on Spurs Live, and we'll see you soon. Bye.